People who work in human resources, what is the weirdest shoot you have seen? Worked INHR for a couple years now, mostly for large firms managing facilities within properties. One of the strangest cases was brought about because a client asked us to review CCTV footage as had driven past the office late at night and noticed the motion sensor lights inside going on and off and was concerned there had been a break-in. Turned out on-night security officer Haas' primary role is to monitor cameras from the control room was skipping up and down the corridors, cause he felt too full of energy and had to get it out of his system somehow. Watching the footage of him skipping featuring the occasional star jump through vacant corridors for 20 minutes at 1 AM really made my day. Got a call from our office in India that staff who supported the night shift were running a brothel from the office. They didn't know they couldn't do that. Still fired. They tried to appeal the decision. Did not work. Worked for a large trucking company. Every employee would get a present on their birthday in the mail and their names on the video board this week's birthdays are. A guy called to ask if his name could not be on the board. Reason: his twin brother murdered his parents and he did not want to be reminded of his birthday. Caught a site manager with like 50 plus pairs of panties hidden all over his office in Ziploc bags, a multitude of 6 toys, and over 100k in cash, stuffed in ceiling tiles. Took a while to unravel all of that. I no longer work INHR at this company, but it's my favorite story from my time there. Our benefits team made the decision to eliminate reserved parking as lots of employees were frustrated when they walked past dozens of empty spots in the reserved lots every day. This new policy applied to all of the company's locations. Of course, the benefits manager received hundreds of complaints in the first few days from people insisting they needed an exception for their own personal spot. The best reason by far was from one person who needed a spot close to the door because they were terrified of bobcats. No other context. We didn't have bobcats near the corporate office, so at first we thought they meant construction equipment. Turns out there actually were sightings of bobcats, like the animal, near this person's location. Last I heard they were told to arrive earlier to get a closer spot and didn't get an exception. One of the dumbest things, an employee that worked night audit at a hotel, parked his car at the entrance, and would occasionally go out there to drink a bottle of vodka in full view of the cameras. He didn't even sit in his car to drink. Just grabbed the bottle out of the car each time and drank in the op. Seriously, he could have put it in a water bottle and drank at the desk and would have not been caught as soon as he was, if at all. We had an employee do this during his lunch break, but more discreetly. Then he would fill his McDonald's cup and drink from it all afternoon. After 6 weeks or so, he was fired after being reported for smelling like booze at work. 4 days later, his obituary was in the paper. He was in his 50s. I can't help but feel like this pushed him over the edge, and I think about him from time to time. I was hired to replace a woman who had been let go for drinking and being drunk on the job. My co-worker told me the gal would be gone for hours at a time, then come back hammered and vomit in the trash bin at her desk. I guess she was pretty tight with the boss, so it took a while for the boss to address it, which she finally had to do as the woman had become a liability. It was sad. Shed lost her son due to her alcoholism as well. A few years later we found out Shed died of a heart attack. She was in her early 30s. I'm not INHR, but my sister-in-law used to be one for a large Canadian tech firm. An executive at the company got very drunk at a conference in Vegas and the company got a call from the hotel saying they'd have to pay for outside contractors. He had rubbed his poop all over the walls of his hotel room and the hotel cleaning staff refused to deal with it. My dad works in hours. He just told me about a day when they had to lay off about half of the company. It was crazy and there were a whole lot of moving parts that day. Unfortunately, in all the craziness, no one remembered to tell this one new hire that sadly the position he was hired for was no longer affordable. So he came into the office, only to see everyone clearing out their desks and leaving. And he got laid off. An hour into his first day, he said the guy understood, but it was the most horrible he ever felt for someone in his life. Not but have been on teams to interview and have been put on possible hires. One standard question: what would you do if you were having problems with a coworker? Answers can include, I would try and work it out, or I would take it to a manager, etc. His answer: I'd take him out back and beat the shit out of him. He was surprised when he didn't get the job. Obscuring a few details here, you'll understand why in a second. There was a mid-level supervisor at a state agency I never got along with. Guy was nasty, argumentative, real piece of work, but still had a decent amount of people loyal to him. I come in one day and he's not there. Everyone was distraught. Turns out law enforcement had come after the guy, caught him red-handed trafficking child pornography. Rather than arrest him immediately, they gave him the option to return home, settle his affairs, maybe call his lawyer. He took the opportunity to simply hang himself in his own garage instead. The next couple of weeks was just damage control among the staff. When the details came out, horrible situation all around. Call center employee Cal Shatio complain about their supervisor. He's abusive. He won't even let me leave my desk. Supervisor Cal Shatio complain about employee. Can you please tell that she's allowed to leave her desk? Oh my god. She's shooting in her trash can. It may sound humorous, but there were significant mental issues at the heart of this. I had to see a video of a guy who shoot himself during work while running to the restroom because his manager wouldn't let him leave a meeting early. The guy had IBD and the manager knew this, so the video show him running down the hall and literally a few feet from the restrooms, he starts shooting himself and you see it coming down his leg pant. He looked to be in pain cause he kinda collapsed and then got back up. People were baffled when they saw this live. Lol, manager equals fired. So definitely the weirdest shoot I've ever seen, literally. I once had a temp job in hours. I was scanning lots of old personnel files, and the one perk of the job was reading old complaints against people. The best one I came across was a mediation caused by one member of staff accusing another of witchcraft. I've shared this story before, but an employee from a different country and culture never showered. He said that where he comes from, they shower about once a month. His co-workers complained of the smell, which was gaggingly offensive. His supervisor eventually sent him home and told him he couldn't come back until he showered. It was a union business and the guy filed a grievance with the union steward. They came into my office, which has a camera, because it was where we had all major disciplinary meetings. The moment they walked into my office, I almost gagged from the smell. It was suffocating. I had 2 chairs in front of my desk, and I asked them to take a seat while I went and pulled his file. When I left, I pulled the door closed behind me. I went to my boss office, told him the situation, and asked him to pull up the camera in my office. It was hilarious. The union steward was holding his shirt over his nose and telling the guy, "Goddamn dude, you're killing me. Yeah, I've got to take a shower." After letting them marinate in the stench for about 10 minutes, I went back in, and the union steward retracted his grievance and agreed to send the guy home. The maintenance guy had been living up above the ceiling of the building. He had built a little cubby living area with electricity and a small fridge and everything. Edit, 4 years. Hey, that happened at the university where I used to work. Guy had had a nasty divorce and set up a cot in the basement under the structures lab. Dunno how he tolerated that. It was loud from big gas hydraulic pumps running all the time, and probably averaged about 35 deg.C. Plus, the ceiling was about 1.5 meters high, the floor was covered in grime and oil, and the place stank. He was gone before I started, but I heard he'd been living there for a few months before getting caught. At the university where I work, they found a homeless woman living in an unused office. Kind of smart, actually. Not now, of course, with universities shut down, but generally universities are safe places, well patrolled, with clean restrooms and students dropping change and abandoning uneaten food. During normal times, there's always a bake sale or hot dog sale going on. Almost every day there's an organization offering free pizza. If you go listen to their talk about HPV, careers, Jesus, or trends in the energy sector. If you get bored, there are free concerts and talks, and no one will notice you in a crowded lecture hall. Or you can just go read books or magazines in the library. Keep yourself clean and tidy, and you can be homeless a long time at a university. I used to work at a staffing agency that placed people at manufacturing positions. Everyone had to be drug tested at the office as part of the orientation. If the pickup came back as inconclusive, we'd send the potential hire to a medical lab. They would take another drug test and the lab could determine if the person was on a prescription or using illegal drugs and therefore not eligible for hire. So one guy failed his drug test at the lab. He came back to the office claiming that it wasn't his fault. He explained that he was riding in a car and he stuck his head over the window. Then, when the car passed under a bridge, someone threw a bunch of cocaine off the bridge. It hit him in the face and he accidentally inhaled it. I work for a software development consulting company where we go onto client sites and help them develop custom software. One dude, super nice, 7-ish years of experience, goes on to his first client with the company and all is good for about 3 weeks. Until the following happened, an increased escalation every couple of days. 1. I don't think the manager likes me. 2. The manager is bad mouthing me to others. 3. The manager isn't copying me in meetings, so I don't know they're happening and miss them. 4. The manager is taking away my completed tasks from the board, so I don't look like I'm being productive. 5. The manager is logging onto my computer remotely and reading my personal emails. 6. The manager is changing my consulting company, not client timecodes, which the manager has absolutely no access to. Essentially, it turned out that he had mental health challenges and thought the manager was sabotaging his every move on the client site. The paranoia just kept going. Unfortunately, he got kind of belligerent at the end. I hope he got the help he needed, but it was super uncomfortable. How do you tell someone that their perception isn't reality? I was a recruiter, and you would be shocked to see what some people actually have as their personal email. Most people have come around to using just their name, but then every once in a while you'll have to verify that brown glitter 69 is in fact how they would like to be contacted. I got a call from a woman I'd never spoken to, asking when she could start. She'd received a job offer after interviewing with a manager for a customer service position. She told me, but no one ever contacted her about a start date or pre-employment processes like a background check, and it had been a month. After a lengthy investigation, it came out that this manager had fabricated a job opening and offered it to this woman in an attempt to impress her. She quit her job, but, it should be noted, did not respond to the manager's romantic overtures with the expectation of joining my company. She got a settlement with an NDA and the guy who hired her got fired. There was also a guy who faked his son's death for some extra PTO. The family of the guy who passed away came to speak to us. It was in a factory environment. To get pension docs etc. We sent them away with a to-do list. 1 hour later reception pinged us saying Mr. X's family was here. Strange. The documents take a few days to get. Nope. New family. Yup. The guy had 2 different families who were about to have a fun surprise. And a guy who worked the overpass shift because he was doing support for our Asia/Europe regions got written up for improper use of company systems. He had dozens if not hundreds of Google image searches related to foot fetish stuff, like insert celebrity hair feet along with other random stuff like cute toes, etc. Like dude, you're in it. You know this stuff is tracked and that your boss could easily monitor it. One of my relatives worked in tech support for a really high profile company in Silicon Valley during the height of the dot-com boom. Some guy who desperately wanted to work there was emailing his resume to 1,000 times every day. Several times a day, the number of emails would get too overwhelming. So the people in will just select all the emails in the inbox and delete all of them, whether the emails were from the applicant or not. My relative had to show them how to filter emails from the applicant. Guy came into the interview in sweatpants and a hoodie and said he didn't need the job because of how much money he was making illegally, but he wanted to have a job so the eyes didn't get suspicious. Weirdest part is I don't live in America. I very much doubt the eyes cares about Canadian tax returns. One of the candidates I was interviewing via Skype answered a phone while in his boxers and a tank top, then stood up to grab his blazer that was probably about 3 feet away. I had to see him in his stretched out boxers too. Had a pronoun site up and open during a shared screen trial. to see how well he can use the digital classroom. I had to remind him I can see his screen. He goes, oh yeah sorry, next. Instead of just closing it from the corner of his partially hidden window, he clicks open the window in full view then closes it. That was nice, Eater. No, guys, he didn't get the job. Also, I got an award for this. Thank you, random citizen. The new receptionist was coming in every morning and opening up programs/documents to make it look like they were busy, and they'd sit with one hand on their mouse and one hand on their keyboard and stare blankly at their screen for 8 hours a day and not do anything. They'd also consistently pick up the phone and hang it up without saying anything so that it would stop ringing. I sat in on their termination, and the employee started screaming at the manager about how they were doing an amazing job and they had to give them another chance. I was 100% confident that they were just trying to get some easy money and wouldn't be surprised that they were finally getting fired. The whole thing was just bizarre. Not subreddit. We had a guy start and immediately start using his work computer to watch Pronoun. Now this immediately caused some alarms to go off on it. So because it was my job to keep an eye on stuff like this, I decided to do this guy a solid because it was his first day and physically go to his office and tell him he couldn't do that at work. Guy gets all kinds of pissed off at me and storms off to lodge a complaint against me for trying to tell him how to do his job. Dude gets fired because he stormed into and told them how the it guy was trying to tell him that he couldn't watch Pronoun in the privacy of his office. Edit. It would be that my most updated comment is about a dude beating off at work. Not weird as much as kind of funny and inappropriate. Was working at a call center in the early 2000s. Got a visit from the IT guys one day letting me know that a guy in quality control had been visiting Pronoun sites on his work computer. They gave me the report and I set up a meeting with him. So John, you've been visiting adult websites on the job. Well, you know how we do a lot of research. And sometimes you just accidentally land one. It happens. John, you visited one particular site 27 times. Should I grab my things? Yup.
N.
Not exactly weird, but I work and we have two people with the exact same name, but in different departments. This still causes confusion sometimes, but the most awkward was last year at the Christmas party. We have this annual Employee of the Year award and the name was announced before mentioning the department or other info, although I warned the MC not to do that, as we had two people with the same name. Let's just say the wrong one got the most excited until he realized it wasn't him. I worked closely with her in a call center. Yao get some crazy stuff. Guy that carried a cooler every day was wiping shoot on random walls and desks. It was his shoot in his cooler. We thought it was his lunch. He got caught when he wiped it on the front desk directly in sight of the camera. Another guy had a colostomy bag that he refused to empty. When it got full, you would find these trails of liquid poo randomly, and we had to throw out 4 chairs that he ruined. He was fired quickly and tried to claim discrimination because he was a veteran. You'd also get a crazy amount of period stains on chairs. Look, it happens, but when it's the same few people and we have free sanitary supplies in the bathroom, you know they just don't care. I work for a call center. Entire company has around 500 employees, maybe 250 of them are in the call center. Entry level work, tiny bit more than minimum wage. A girl started her first week doing really well, and then week 2 got really weird. She walked into the CEO's office on another floor in the building while he was meeting with someone to demand that he buy her a dog because she thought having a companion would improve her work performance. That was the entirety of her rationale. Edit. Many are asking. No, she did not get the dog. I wasn't in the room with the CEO, so I don't know exactly how he handled it. He is an exceptionally nice human being, so I assume he handled it kindly. Though, I mean it made its way back to her pretty quick, so he definitely told some people about it. My colleague spoke with her about it, and was just like, no, that's not a thing, WTF. She was fired soon after for unrelated reasons, attendance I believe. Also many are questioning if she had some kind of mental disorder. I have no idea. I used to work at a large corporation. There was a back office team doing a lot of processing. and data entry including employees' bank info for their salary. It just so happened that on the same day 2 employees with the same name started, and a huge clusterfuck ensued. First, the banking information was entered for the wrong person. One of them realized and had it corrected, but the other wasn't fixed. So both salaries went to one person. The unpaid guy started refusing to come to work, but payroll said that the payment cleared and the account was in his name, so he was terminated for refusing to come to work. He kept calling, and their support team kept misidentifying him as the other guy who was still working for us. So when they raised a ticket to get his bank information changed, they changed the info of the wrong guy. So now the guy who doesn't work for us is getting paid the salary of a guy who does. When this was finally worked out, the first guy was given his job back, but on his first day back security misidentified him and issued him a badge of the other employee. So now he was clocking hours for the other guy and not getting paid again because he never clocked in for himself. It took about 3 months for all this to be worked out. Moral of the story is use a freaking email address to identify people. Edit. Yes, the employees had unique IDs. The problem was people were searching for them by name and tunnel visioning on the first result. Also, I was suggesting the email can be used to identify people face to face or over the phone. I wasn't suggesting it should be used as the primary key in a database. I work at my family's business in the industrial sector, and is one of the hats I wear. 2018 was insanely busy for us, so we had to hire a staffing agency to get some general labor guys in. It's a simple wax on, wax off kind of job. The most memorable part of that hectic summer was one temp that the agency sent over for third shift midnight 8 AM. We will call him Bobby for this story. Bobby shows up wearing nothing but a pair of cargo shorts, so we had to provide pants, shirt, and steel toes. Come break time at 4, he decided to go out to the parking lot and scale the building about 30 feet. Probably climbed a tree or something, had a smoke, and managed to turn the security camera away from the parking lot. Bobby then walked away from the job and went home in the uniform and boots we provided for him. We assumed he wanted to break into some of the cars, but nothing was gone. Ended up costing probably $300 for training, uniform, and just wasting our time. TL. Dr. Temp employee scaled the 30 feet building and played with the security cameras on his first day. Edit. Employee's name.